They told me not to have her. That was too dangerous. My life was going to end if I continued to have her. They told me that I would bleed to death. She wasn't worth keeping. I was being too selfish. I had 4 kids at home. Why would I be doing this? If it was the last thing I did, being a loving mother. My life was full of struggles, but my face of reality was struck last year, 2014, when I had my little girl, my 5th pregnancy, at a high-risk pregnancy. I had placenta accreta, where the placenta was attached just a few centimeters away from my cervix. It went straight through my uterine wall and into my bladder. From 12 weeks up, I was bleeding heavily. I would visit the hospital once a week. I had a placenta abruption, where I would continue to bleed from. I was losing about 1 liter of blood a week, the doctors told me. I was in a lot of pain every single day. I could barely walk. The doctors kept telling me that it was too risky to continue the pregnancy, that I needed to get rid of her. My life was in too much danger, that at any moment I would go into labor and I would hemorrhage and bleed to death. And every single time that they asked me to get rid of my little girl, I fought and I said no. No matter how scared I was, no matter how much pain I was in, no matter how much I felt in weakness, my little girl had a strong heartbeat. This is what I believed in, and this was the right thing for me to do. At 23 weeks, I was admitted to the hospital due to heavy bleeding. I would permanently stay there for the rest of the pregnancy. At 24 weeks and 1 day, I woke up in the middle of the night, shaking. I was in a lot of pain, and so I called the nurses and the doctors in, and they tell me that the baby is too low and we have to take you emergency C-section. As they prepared me for the OR, they set me up because I wasn't feeling good at that moment. And when I went to go throw up, I pushed her out, my only VBAC out of all 5 children. Along with that, my bladder was ripping because the placenta went right through the uterine wall and into the bladder. I was hemorrhaging. I was bleeding to death. On the way to the OR, they kept repeatedly telling me, "Do not pass out, Christine. If you pass out, we will lose you. Do not pass out." But all I wanted to do was pass out. The pain was so blinding to me. I couldn't even see. It hurt so bad. I did everything I could to hang on. I had 5 hours of surgery, 10 units of blood transfusion, a hysterectomy, a bladder repair, a cyst removal. The doctors told my loved ones they were afraid that my blood pressure was not going to go back up. They couldn't control it. After 2 days of rest, I finally got to see my little girl in the NICU. But that night was short-lived when I ended up having to get a tube down my nose and into my stomach because my intestines completely shut down. I spent an additional 2 weeks in the hospital. Just about 2 months after that, I ended up back in the hospital with emergency gallbladder removal. For a few days, I stayed in the hospital then again. My baby girl was born at 1 pound 2 ounces, 11.5 inches long, and fought every single day in the NICU for 3.5 months. In April 2014, my little girl got to come home with me. Got to meet the rest of her family. Against all odds, against what the doctors believed in, I lived, and my little girl lived too. She was my sunshine, my light that completed my family. All 5 of my babies were perfect. Now it was time for me to change my life so I can be there for her and my children and my husband. To be there for myself, to watch them grow up. It was time for me to change. In July of 2014, I found my amazing coach with Beachbody. So I joined up underneath her. I joined her challenge groups, bought my first program. Every day was hard on those programs. But every day that I did those, I got stronger. I got more energy. I was able to think clearer. I got healthier. 1 year later, I'm 120 pounds lighter. I went from a size 22 pants to a size 6. I've lost over 60 inches. When my husband returned from his deployment, I had only told him that I was going to lose 50 pounds before he left. But I had lost over 100 pounds when he came home. He did not even recognize me when he saw me. He said that he had saw me and he walked away and continued searching for me and couldn't find me. And he stopped at 10 feet away from me and said if that was her, she'd walk towards me. And I did. He had a huge grin on his face, and for the very first time, he wrapped his arms completely around my waist and lifted me up. It was an amazing feeling. I was actually smaller than he has ever seen in the whole 8 years that we've been together. He was proud of me. My children were proud of me. Thanks to Beachbody, I had my life back. I could show just how amazing my world was. It was perfect to me. Thanks to my coach, she kept me strong every single day. Above all, I'm healthier for my children. I don't have to worry as much anymore. And my kids love that. I love that I have done everything I could to be there for my children, for my family. It means the world to me. But a mother's love is stronger than anybody could imagine in my heart.